Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal, and right now is the best time to start leveling a brand new character, especially in preparation for the patch 11.2. Patch 11.17 has been fantastic for catching up all of your old characters, and starting this week we're getting probably the most amount of EXP buffs overlapping all at the same time. With the return of the Winds of Mystery's Fortune buff making its way back into the Castle Gar, players are going to be able to get passively 20% more EXP plus 10% on top of it from potions that you can get from satchels, resulting in 30% additional EXP by itself, though this buff will overlap with Mastery of the Time Ways, the Warband bonuses, as well as a variety of different things that we can take advantage of in order to stack all of these benefits together, resulting in some of the fastest leveling that we've seen in a very long time. So for today's video, I wanted to go over how to take advantage of all these different EXP buffs to really maximize your leveling gains, but also go over some of the best strategies that I've been able to test out so far in terms of trying to get a character leveled as quickly as possible if you're trying to fill out your small army of alts before the Season 3 content is finally upon us. As always, if you guys want to see more guides such as these over for the patch 11.2 or any future updates for the War Within expansion, be sure to follow the channel and subscribe. But otherwise, let's dive right in. So first of all, let's go over the different buffs and benefits we can utilize to combine together into a fairly sizable EXP bonus, starting with a buff that's going to be made available as of the making of this video, Winds of Mystery's Fortune, which is not a new buff, it's actually a returning buff that's going to be back in, and it's going to be made available for any player that's at least level 10 and up. It just is going to be an extra passive benefit at the top right of your screen that's going to grant you 20% additional EXP from all sources, but also increased reputation gains for renouns with the Dragonflight expansion, as well as the War Within factions. Also, on top of it, you can kill any random mobs within certain zones, primarily the Dragon Isles in particular is a really good one, but also you can get satchels from any of the zones within the War Within area from Kazalgar, Hollowfall, Ringing Deeps, and Ashkahet. And anytime you kill enemies in those areas, you can get a satchel that gives you a bunch of different bottles with various bonuses. Some can be some combat benefits that can give you a little bit extra ease of use within questing out in the open world. Others will give you cosmetic effects like shrinking your character, but then there's also satchels that will grant you 10% additional experience gain, which can be farmed up and stored up in your bank for the rest of eternity, as this is one of those buffs that will continue to persist and just something you can keep up and maintain within your bank at all times. Now, the easiest way that I found to farm up this buff has actually been to, first of all, head to Dragon Isles and take a portal to Thaldraszus, which you could do from Orgrimmar or Stormwind. And over here in the Gardens of Unity, there's a number of enemies you can kill very quickly. I usually just like to pull a bunch of these flowers, these death blossoms, and when you cleave them down really quickly, usually that rewards you at least a single satchel. If the flowers for some reason are not dropping you anything, there is also a rare right over here. It's going to be the Liskron the Dazzling. This is a really easy one that you can just slay on any of your old characters. Take down the rare, grab yourself a satchel, and then see if an XP potion pops in there. Afterwards, once you loot the XP potion, if you have one, you can just head back to Thaldraszus, head over to the bank, and then drop off those potions in the bank if you're not going to be using them on that character immediately. And I have a couple of these potions actually stored up in my reagent bank right now. I definitely need to re-up on them, but while the event is active, you definitely want to store up on as many of these potions as possible, because it's going to offer you 10% additional EXP. So which makes it so that the buff itself offers you 20, the potion is 10, so together for the Winds of Mystery's Fortune, you can get up to 30% additional bonus EXP just through these methods alone. Time Walking Dungeons could also grant you an extra buff of up to 30% bonus experience through the Turbulent Time Ways event, where all you gotta do is complete Time Walking Dungeons to get a stacking buff called a Knowledge of the Time Ways, which awards you 5% bonus experience per stack. However, at 4 stacks, the stacks become a new buff called Mastery of the Time Ways, which further increases your experience gain by 30%. So just for 4 Time Walking Dungeons when you get a character up and running, and you can start queuing for Time Walking Dungeons actually really early on, as they'll now scale to your level. You should be able to immediately get yourself 30% bonus experience to stack together with the Winds of Fortune. So just with those alone, you're looking at about 60% more experience, since the bonuses are additive. Outside of this, the more characters you get to max level, the more of this mentoring level bonus that you can get for all of your characters. And that's going to be just a warband bonus. Basically, the more characters you have at max level, the faster it becomes to level any other characters afterwards. And eventually, you hit a cap of 25. It's 5% bonus per max level character up to 25 maximum. So for many of you that have been playing War Within so far, there's a good chance you probably have at least 1 or 2 max level characters, maybe 5 of them. But with this buff, this is going to be one of the best ways to go and get yourself a bunch of ults up and running, which will make any of your future ults even faster with 25% additional bonus EXP. Now, another potion that's definitely worth your time, in my opinion, is the Drought of 10 Lands. This is another EXP potion from the Battle for Azeroth era. It is a warband potion like most other EXP potions, and will grant you additional stats, which isn't important, but also will grant you 10% additional EXP for 1 hour. However, this potion, at least consuming this potion, is no longer possible at level 49, but it is a potion that you can actually refresh the buff of right before you hit level 50. So as long as you drink it, even if you hit or above level 49, the potion itself cannot be consumed above that level, but the buff will still persist and will still allow you to gain additional EXP. And this potion you get from the Battle for Azeroth Service Metal Quartermasters, which are kind of like the Warfront World Quest, as well as that faction-specific currency Quartermaster. And these potions can be purchased for a few service medals, which you could basically obtain by completing a couple of world quests within a Warfront zone. So you look at Arathi, or you look at a Dark Shore, for instance, or if you just do certain activities out in the open world that have to do with that specific alliance or horde faction, then you could also earn additional commendations to buy more potions for all of your alts. Now, the last way to gain 10% additional XP is through War Mode, which enables world PvP while out in the open world. It's a bit of a risk and reward type of system, but it also does allow you to increase the amount of quest rewards you gain, but also quest experience you will gain by 10% while out in the open world content. You don't even need to be someone who is into PvP to enable this mode, as within certain questing areas for Alliance and Horde, there really isn't much of a reason for the opposing faction to be there, especially inside of Chromie time, which puts you like in a separate instance, and the War Mode puts you in a separate instance within an instance, so you're pretty much removed from a lot of the general public, and for the most part you'll see other players of your faction questing in the safe areas. So by questing in safe specific areas that are also very efficient when it comes to EXP gained, you can actually gain a ton of EXP without really a risk of faction combat specifically. So altogether, if you were combining all of these buffs at the same time, you're looking at about, stacked together, 105% bonus EXP, which is a massive bonus when it comes to catching up any characters before the patch 11.2. So if you're looking to get any characters caught up last minute, now would be the best time to get all of your characters up and running, especially if you're looking to experience a bunch of different class changes and revamps that are going to be part of this Season 3 content. And there's definitely a lot of nice revamps and quality of life improvements to look forward to, especially if you're someone who is a big fan of playing multiple characters at a time. From there, though, you have two options in terms of how you can level your characters. One of them will be just spamming dungeons. With the Turbulent Timeways being active, you can basically just spam through time walking dungeons all the way to max level. Practically. It is going to be a little bit faster if you have a tanking spec or a healing spec, especially if you're spamming through the solo, because then you basically will get instantaneous queues. But it's also pretty efficient even as the DPS. It's even better if you have maybe some sort of a group where you all are aware of what the dungeons are going to do and are coordinating cooldowns just to get through the content as quickly as possible. And I imagine a 5-man that's fully geared to the teeth and basically ready to spam out dungeons could probably get through it fairly quickly. You will be missing out on the 10% warband bonus when you're spamming time walkings, but they're still incredibly efficient, especially if you're a fan of dungeon content and group content. Time walking dungeons, you can just kind of spam queue them all the way to max level, so they're pretty straightforward and are one of the simplest strategies you have when it comes to reaching max level. Otherwise, you can just spend your time doing some normal leveling out in the open world, primarily through questing. Now, if you're not going to be doing an allied race character, then you are going to be starting at level 1. And if you're going to be going through the very first entry level experience, then Exile's Reach, I think, is actually better than any of the original class or race starting zones. Human Zone Night of Zone, all of those places that are kind of pale in comparison to Exile's Reach specifically. Exile's Reach is just made to be the most straightforward and the most streamlined experience. It is fairly quick, and it's actually faster than starting on any of the original starting zones for humans, orcs, or any of the other vanilla races, and it will get you to level 10 really quickly, where the real leveling begins. Afterwards, your leveling path, and rather questing path, is going to be a little bit different whether you're Alliance or you're Horde. So anything from level 10 all the way to level 70, you're going to have a slight alteration in terms of the zones that you'll be questing for the most part. As an Alliance player, it's a good idea to stick in places like Elwyn Forest, especially doing the quests around the Eastvale lodging camp for the most part, but the other zones that are also very efficient for you to quest in will be Red Ridge Mountains, outside of the quest called Prisoners of War, as well as Duskwood. The entire Duskwood zone is incredibly efficient. And after you're done with all three of those zones, you can always go to Loch Modan. That's another place that's incredibly efficient when it comes to just raw questing out and leveling on a character. As a Horde, you'll actually start off in the undead area of Silverpine Forest, and even though the area has quite a little bit of RP to it, it is still the most efficient zone when it comes to raw EXP. And you can pretty much do majority of this quest all completely finish out the zone, and then move on to Hillsbrad Foothills and essentially do the entirety of Hillsbrad Foothills. Both areas are fairly large, filled with quests, and are super efficient for Horde players in particular. Once you run out of quests within those two zones, another place that's also really good to do questing in is through Warlord's General expansion. Specifically, doing the Warlord's General intro will give you a ton of EXP for the time spent within that intro experience. So that is definitely worth doing. And if you still need a couple of more levels afterwards, then you could also go continue to level in Warlord's General, specifically in the zone of Gorgrond. Starting off your Alliance or Horde starting experience within the zone to establish an outpost, and then making sure to choose the Coliseum or the Arena in order to get some more companions to help you throughout the zone, and then doing essentially all the side quests and the main quests in the area, just doing everything your Gorgon. It is the most efficient zone by far compared to the other zones that we mentioned before. And all of this should help you make your way through level 10 all the way to level 70, which is where you'll be able to start your leveling experience within Kaz Algar. Now, 70 through 80, you have a couple of options. Again, you can also just go back to time walking and spam through dungeons all the way to max level if that's what you want to do. Or if you just prefer questing and doing open world activities, doing the entirety of Isle Adorn, the main storyline, but also the side quests in particular. Side quests are incredibly efficient in this area, and you can essentially do the entirety of Isle Adorn while war mode is active and get a ton of experience out of the very first zone of Kaz Algar. Outside of this, you also should do every single one of the delves. Once you enter a delve, there'll be a delve quest at the very beginning, and once you begin the quest, once you complete the delve on tier 2 difficulty, you don't really need to go all the way to tier 3. Tier 2 seems to be the most, the highest that you really need to go for. Once you finish it, the quests that you turn in from those delves do get war mode bonuses, so you can actually get quite a lot of experience out of those delve quests in particular, and there's a lot of delves for you to dive into within the Isle Adorn, but also the rest of Kaz Algar as well. So between questing within Isle Adorn and doing every single delve quest that's available, that should get you all the way from 70 to 80 in no time. But with that, as always, I do want to thank all of you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did enjoy it or found it informative, go ahead and give this video a like. I would very much appreciate it. Also, liking the video helps it reach a wider audience, which helps me out tremendously. In the description of every video, you'll also find a link to our community Discord, which is the best place and the easiest place to reach me directly. Whether you got questions regarding leveling or what you should be doing next, or maybe what you should be doing once you hit max level to get that character caught up very quickly, is a good place for just to ask any questions in general, or just to keep up with any topics regarding future patches like upcoming 11.2. Also, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and as always, I'll see all of you guys in the next one.